What is up, Wari? Jan here. Thank you guys for joining here. This is going to give you the guidance you need to be able to use this guy right here. Basically a lot maximization calculator for city infill development in Seattle. Of course, you can apply this to almost any city or jurisdiction for townhome development or row home development, as long as you are familiar with their development standards and different build costs, that kind of thing. So let's jump right into it. We are going to start by just giving you an overview here. So when you're analyzing a site, you can just throw in the address and date that you did the analysis. That's always important. You know what, before I move on, the way you're going to be able to edit your own copy of this is by going to Google Sheets, the link I send you, File, Make a Copy, and then make a copy into your own drive. And so here, copy of infill development calculator. Okay, right? And then now you're going to be able to edit that calculator. So with that being said, let's go back to the OG here. And you'll start by getting some property info. So let's get a site that we can use as an example, right? So how would you find a site? Well, you could go on Redfin. I like Redfin. And I've searched in Seattle. All right, here, let me just start this from scratch so you guys see exactly how I got to this stage. So redfin.com, Seattle. And I want to find a nice low-rise 1, 2, or 3 development site that someone has recently purchased, and we can analyze based on our calculations how they're going to do financially. Of course, only with one exit scenario. There are multiple potential possibilities, but we're going to just look at one. So once we're in Seattle, we're going to look at multifamily property type, and let's see what's been sold in the last 6 months. Now, we don't want anything that's new, right? We want to buy something that's older, so let's say before 1980. And we don't want these tiny lot sizes, so let's do a minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet, right? Because on a smaller lot, you're just going to be able to build less. Now, let's look at Ballard, because developers love Ballard, and see if we can find a nice example. Something cheap, right? And when I say cheap, I mean like $1 million or so. So this looks good. Let's see this one. Okay. So 2440 Northwest 60th. So we'll use this as an example because it's $1 million bucks. The lot size is 4,600 square feet. Sold in April. Cool. And often in the listing remarks, you'll see something about, so listing remarks have been taken down because it's an older listing. It's already sold. But often in the details of the listing remarks, someone will call out low-rise 1 or great, development lot. Developers, be aware, right? So in this case, we'll just take the address and go to King County Parcel Viewer. I will provide you all these links in a separate sheet so that you guys have access to everything, and it's easy to find. So Parcel Viewer, plug in the address. We can see it's a duplex owned by Array Build LLC, clearly a developer. And now we can click onto the property report, and that will give us more detail, right? So this is what it looks like currently. 737 taxable value, cool. Let's look at the property detail tab. And the zoning here under the land data, zoning is LR1. Okay, good. So we know it's low-res 1. And the lot size is 4,650. So that gives us those initial inputs that we need for our calculator, right? Low-res 1, what was the price? $1,015,000, cool. And lot size is 4,650. Now what's the FAR? Okay, FAR stands for floor area ratio, and it basically multiplies your lot size by this FAR number to give you your total buildable square feet on the lot, right? So in this case, now we'll go to the next link, which is if you just Google Seattle multifamily zones, this document is going to pop up, Seattle's low-rise multifamily zones. And this is a nice overview and tells you what you can build where and what kind of development restrictions there are on the lot. So we're going to build townhomes on this lot. And with townhomes on a low-rise 1 lot, we know that the FAR is either 0.9 or 1.1, depending on these two little asterisks, which say the higher FAR and density apply if the project meets additional standards regarding parking, location, and access, alley paving, and green building performance. So I like to look at things from a best case scenario. If it works if it pencils out in a best case, then that just gives me the insight to be able to move forward with more due diligence, right? It's not the end, right? You never want to start with the best case and then stop, because you'll just assume that the best case is going to play out. All I'm saying is start with the best case. That's what I like to do. And then see if that works. If that doesn't work, then you can not move on and do further due diligence. But if it does, then you're good. Then you can continue to do due diligence and see if there's going to be additional costs beyond the best case. There will be, right? So we'll use 1.1 because we'll assume, again, the best case that we'll do a green built and parking and whatever other standards they need, alley paving and access, can be met. So we'll get that higher FAR. And then we know the density limit is 1 unit per 1,600 square feet of lot area. All right, cool. So now we can plug in those things, right? So FAR is 1.1, and we'll make this blue because that's something you need to change. So that gives us our total buildable square feet, right? Multiplies those two. Now, how many units can we build on this lot size? 4,600 square foot lot. So remember, the density requirement says you can build 1 unit per 1,650 square feet of lot area. So what does this calculation do here? It takes the lot size and divides it by 1,600. So 2.91 is an amount of units we can build. I know in proposed zoning code, the allowance is if it's 2.85 or higher, or x 0.85 or higher, then you can go up to the next number. So it's kind of that round up. If it doesn't meet that density requirement, 0.85, then it goes back down. So I'm not positive what it is in existing development code because I don't study that as thoroughly. So you'll have to find out for yourself, but I'm just going to make the assumption for the purpose of this video that you can round up here, right? So we're going to go, okay, 2.91, so here we're going to build 3 units, right? Cool. Now let's see what else we need to input. So lot width. So now we're going to go back into our parcel viewer, map, click on advanced tools, measure tool. This middle icon, it's a little ruler, and go to measure in feet. Cool, that looks good. Now we're going to zoom in so we can get a nice good look at this lot. And now we're going to measure it. So once you're in feet and the measure tool, go to the corner of the lot line, get as close as you can. Now go to the other corner of the front lot line. And we see it's a 50-foot lot, right? So now, of course, you can keep measuring if you'd like, but all I'm looking for is a lot width. Okay, it's 50.5. It's probably my inaccuracy in measurements. It's probably, honestly, exactly 50. That's a common lot width in Seattle. So I want to also give you an insight into, sometimes in the legal description, you'll see like 50 feet west of Woodland Park or whatever it is. Sometimes it'll call out in here the lot width or depth in the abbreviated legal description. That's on the second tab, the property detail tab, right? So going back to our map, we know the lot is 50 feet wide. Cool, that's good enough for this initial look at this lot, right? So we're gonna go 50 feet wide. And the total is 4650. That's just pulling in from here what you input, right? And so this just auto-calculates the depth, which is 93. It's one less thing you need to measure, right? Okay, then we think since this is a small, simple 3-unit townhome build in Seattle, it shouldn't take more than 12 months. If you're doing something more complex, more than 5-6 units, maybe it's going to take 14 months. If you're doing something smaller, maybe it takes less. I wouldn't count on it though. And development term, let's say it's going to take us, hey, we're a new developer. It's going to take us 12 months to build these, using a builder. So build cost, 200 is a solid average to start with in terms of building up your townhomes. So we'll just keep it at that. Experienced developers might be down at 170. If you're doing super high-end stuff, you're doing Cap Hill, you want to sell for 700 square foot, maybe it's costing you 250, right? But we're going to say 200 is a good starting point. We're going to build 3 units. Now, how big is each unit going to be? Well, that's completely dependent on the FAR and the setback requirements, right? So how do we maximize this lot? So that's part of what this calculator can give you, right? Is figuring out how to maximize a lot as a starting point, at least. So here, the total square feet here is not to exceed, so this is how much we're going to build. Total square feet is not to exceed 4650. So that's what's allowed, right? Excuse me, not 4650. It's not to exceed the total buildable square foot, which is 5,115. How did we get there? Again, we multiplied the lot size by the FAR. Okay, we can build 5,100 square feet. So if we made our units 1,700 square feet, that gets us right to 5,100. All right, so again, we're going to look at this as a best case scenario. Then let's look at what things are selling for in Ballard. So how do you do that? Okay, go to Redfin again. Now we know this thing is on 61st in Ballard, hot area. So I like to pull comps by, where is it exactly? Let's take another peek at this. Where is this thing? Okay, it's near Ballard Playground. I want to get out of the measure tool, click Advanced Tools, Measure Tool. You have to unclick it. It's pretty odd, but okay, we're near the Ballard Playground. What's this cross street? That's kind of what I'm looking for, so I can get close to it, right? I can't tell what that says. Here's 62nd. Let's see here. Here's Market. Okay, so it's like north of Market near the playground. Let's see if we can see that playground in this map. So it's one of these. Looks like this one, maybe? Okay, Redfin's not showing it, but I think it's that. Anyways, it's close enough, right? So we want to be within like a mile of that or so, maybe a little bigger, depending on your area. If you're not finding a lot of comps, then go bigger, right? So now we're going to draw a little circle here around 61st to 65th, let's say. All right, since there's so much development in Ballard, you don't have to go far to find great comps, right? So basically now we want to filter down, right? So we're looking for new development comps. Here's one that was just bought. That's probably a good comp. But let's get a good list going, right? So we want to see townhomes sold in the last 6 months between 1,000 and 2,000 square feet. That sounds good. And year built minimum, let's say, new construction, 2017 or newer. So now we have 12 homes, right, that are all great. Well, they're not all great comps, but they're all potential comps, right? So now we can look at this as photos or a table. I like table view. And then I like to sort by dollars per square foot as an average. So it looks like we are selling these. So if you build 1,000 square foot townhome, right, like this one is 1,400. It's sold for $624 a square foot, but it took quite a while to sell. 600 took 50 days. All right, that's probably a little better comp, but it's a smaller unit size, right? Ours is going to be around 1,700 maximized. Let's say we build them around, 1,500. These are selling at 550, 530 on the low end, 525 on the very low end. You can see there's an inverse relationship typically between the square footage of the home. As it gets bigger, it sells for less per square foot, right? As it gets bigger, it sells for less per square foot. You can see the highest per square foot figures are for the smallest townhomes, 14, 13. This one must have been done really well because it's sold for high dollar per square foot and it's huge, 2,000 square foot townhome, $1 million for a townhome. How you like them apples? Walking up 2 flights of stairs and having no yard. That's rough for $1 million, but that's a matter of style and taste. So ultimately, we just are looking for an average. Actually gives you an average, right? In this little area, the average is 551. Now, with the market where it is, I wouldn't provision to meet that kind of number. So I'm gonna go on this low end, like 525, 530. Let's use 530 for our townhomes. Maybe 525, just to be conservative. So we're gonna sell ours for 525 a square foot. That means each one's gonna sell for close to $900,000. Okay, that's not crazy, right? You just saw some are, quite a few are selling for over $1 million. So now this is assuming we can build 3 units. Let's look at if we can build 3 units, right? So let's search back in Parcel Viewer and get closer in on our lot. And let's look at base maps, an aerial view. Okay, this is a beautiful lot. I mean, you can see it's, there's no big trees on it. Trees can get in the way of building. It looks flat from this vantage point. But let's see if, I can't remember if this guy has some options to view. Let's look at map layers, bottom left. Okay, no, let's look at IMAP. So another link that I will provide to you. However, it is also available by Googling IMAP. Guys, development is really about resourcefulness, as is any investment really, right? I mean, it's problem solving, being agile, being able to figure shit out, go and ask the questions. Just Google stuff and you will find an incredible amount. Do a little research, go read some development code. I mean, this is how you get good at this stuff. So in IMAP, here's the site, right? Now in IMAP, we can see layer list, the base map gallery. Let's look at a layer list and look at what I'm looking for is the topography to see if it's flat. I'm assuming it is because it looks flat. Let's see if there's any ECA on it. See if we can zoom further. Okay, it doesn't look like ECA is popping up. I click on all of these to see if anything comes up. Anything I should be aware of? Okay, I don't know where the hell you could just do turn all layers on. Oh, there we go. Hey, that worked. Turn all layers on. And that gives me, see that little brown line that just popped up? Those are the elevation contours. So this is 95 feet, and this is 100 feet, and here's 105. So, I mean, it's a perfectly flat lot, almost perfect. Really nice lot. So that's a good starting point. Now let's look at water and sewer and see if we're gonna have any additional costs associated with building here, depending on water and sewer availability. I doubt it because it's Ballard. Everything's already been upgraded in terms of utilities. So here we have an 8-inch water main. So I just plug the address in, brings me to water main. Cool, that's good. And then let's look at sewer and drainage. And here we have on 60th a vitrified clay main line, sanitary sewer. Cool. Those are available. That's good. We can plug in right on 60th. That will reduce our cost significantly. Zoning and land use, we can see it's low rise 1. Critical areas, they're not here on the site. So that's a good thing. Let's go back to our calculator and continue looking at this thing, right? So that's it. You put in the blue stuff, right? For the most part, that's it. So let me give you a couple other things. Anything that's blue, you need to update, right? Rental income as is. Okay, so we know this thing. So this is going to help offset your holding costs, right? As you get permits, what are you going to do with this property? You want to make some money on it because you're going to have an expensive-ass mortgage. So you want to have some rental income. Ideally, this is existing duplex. I don't have time to look into comps, but just go on Zillow or Craigslist and find rental comps. I'm gonna assume they can rent for $1,800 a pop for each side of the duplex. That's $3,600 a month. That's great. Okay, so now we can see now this blue and yellow. These are just two different ways that you can finance this. There are many more ways, but these are two that we look at. So, if you bought the existing property with cash, and then you did hard money or kind of commercial loan for the construction, versus if you bought the house with hard money and you did the construction with hard money as well. Obviously, this is more leverage, right? This is less leverage. This is more expensive. This is less expensive because you have less loan fees, right? Less financing costs. So this one is you're going to have higher holding costs. This one you're going to have lower holding costs. Your return on equity here is lower, right? Because you've got more cash in it. Here your return on equity is higher. On this side, your gross margin is going to be higher because you have less financing costs, right? Gross margin is just what is your profit as a percentage of the exit, right? So here, right, since we have less acquisition and holding costs, $1,500 after rental offset, our gross margin's higher, right? We have a higher profit. But here, we have higher holding costs and acquisition costs, so our gross margin is lower. Now let's look at other metrics. We have, in this case, you need way more cash, right? Here you need less cash. Here you're going to make, net ROI is lower because it's return on your investment, return on your capital input. Here it's higher, right? Because you put less cash of your own cash into the deal. So let's look at, we're going to assume we're going to buy this with hard money and build it with hard money. So we have an exit value of $2.677 million. Now it's going to cost $150,000 to sell this thing, right? So this number comes from here, final sale closing costs. So sale minus excise tax, escrow and closing fee, commissions. Okay, we want to put in 5%. I don't my partner's a broker, but you may not be. So, or I'm going to get a broker's license, but I don't currently have one. So you can kind of edit that as you need to. Here now it's 5%, right? So here it's going to cost us $200,000 to sell it. Construction costs are just what are you building, total square footage, 5,100 square foot, times what is your build cost per square foot, $1 million. Soft cost, this is just a formula. I found it works for me. It may be different for you. $70,000 for engineering, architecture, civil. If you need to do a water main extension, I would, that's let's say it's $1,000 a linear foot. You need to add that cost here, let's say, or miscellaneous, right? Miscellaneous is, again, just a random calculation. It's just an extra little buffer fund. If you're newer, you probably want to make this higher, right? Maybe even higher than that. Maybe you want it to be like $200,000. I mean, you might make a lot of mistakes. It's very possible, right? So we'll keep it at 0.1 for now, just because, let's say, we're new and we're going to make mistakes. Construction financing, $200,000. So that number comes from construction and sale, this portion, $200,000, right? So we have a loan amount. All right, I'm not going to get into detail here. $200,000. Just look at the detail yourself. Make sure it works for you. Acquisition financing cost $90,000. Okay, so we paid $1 million for it. All right, we're going to lose $20,000. So that's not good. Let's say we're not new and we don't make these mistakes. Okay, now we make $82,000, right? But we need a shit ton of money to be able to do the project. Okay, that doesn't work either. Okay, if we can close on permits, we can get rid of this $90,000 financing cost, right? So that would be nice, right? Okay, now we're making 171 grand. That's better, but it's still not amazing, right? So this project is not one that I would do, but here's the thing. They very well might be building an apartment. They might have bought 2 lots next to each other, right? They might be able to wait for MHA, and maybe this site gets upzoned to LR2, right? I mean, there's a number of things that could be happening here that we're not aware of. And so you would have to do further research to figure out, like, okay, well, how is this working for them, right? So let's look at some of those scenarios. Like, how does this thing work out, right? How do the numbers work out with my calculator? All right, let's say it's an experienced developer. They're building for 170 a square foot, right? And they're hoping they're going to sell at 535 a square foot, right? I mean, you saw the numbers, right, on Redfin. Stuff is selling for 600, 550, right? So I'm conservative because I'm new, right? But if you got to 550, right? I mean, suddenly, right, and this bigger spread between your build costs and your sale costs, right, or your sale price, excuse me. Let's keep it at 190, and let's say they don't need any miscellaneous. Okay, now they're making $250,000, right? So that's cool. That's not bad. So $250,000. You know, it needs quite a bit of cash with my numbers, but maybe they got closing on permits. Maybe they got seller financing. Maybe their holding costs are going to be way lower. Maybe they have better terms than I can get for construction financing, right? So those things all play into this, right? I mean, if their construction financing is half this price, now you're making $350, right, on this project, approximately, let's say, right? So let's say this was, you know, 100 grand instead of 200. All right, yeah, 350, and you're at a 13% gross margin. That's not bad, right? I think a lot of developers are looking for a 15% gross margin. That's a decision you have to make for yourself, right? So going back to this, right, we have miscellaneous at 100, let's say. Okay, so that's kind of it, guys, right? So it's here. I'll show you a little bit of the detail here. I'm not going to get into super weeds here because you guys can click into these formulas, make sure they make sense for you. But you know, hard money loan to buy the house, to buy the duplex as is for $1 million. All right, you need to put down like 100 grand, right? Let's say it's 10% down. Let's say it's more. Who knows? And then it's going to cost you like, you know, this is a simple interest calculation. You might want to have a real interest calculation, like actually figure out how much it is going to cost you monthly. This is, again, just super simple. Like, all right, well, we know it's going to cost so much in interest at 10%. Let's say it takes 12 months, and our loan amount's 913 grand. So this is just that loan amount times 10% divided by 12, which is, you know, each month, right? And then you're gonna have some holding costs minus your rental income. So that's, you know, at 75% occupancy, right? 3,600 a month times 12 times 0.75 is 32 grand. So this is how much cash you need just to get to permits, guys, right? Just to get to permits, not even to build anything, right? Just to hopefully get to permits, right? And then once you're ready to build, what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to take this original acquisition loan and you're going to refinance it and add in the amount you need for construction financing, right? Which is like another $1 million. Construction costs, $1 million, right? Maybe you throw in your soft costs like architecture as well. Wrap that in, right? So here, now you're at a loan of, you know, now you're in construction financing. Now you need $1.5 million loan. You need a 400 grand to put down on it, let's say. 2.5 points to close. You know, total interest is 156K. Here's a little bit more of a detailed construction draw schedule at 10% interest, right? So amount accruing interest, right? You're gonna, as time goes on, you need more money. They're gonna give you more money. This is very simplified. It doesn't work like this in reality. They're not gonna give you like an extra 100 grand each month, right? You're gonna do some work and show progress, and they'll give you another whatever the amount is, right? So this is just kind of all right. Let's say it takes 12 months. If your project takes more than 12 months to build, then you need to use a different construction draw schedule, right? Just be aware of these things, right? This is just what works for me, guys. This, you need to adjust it to make sure it's fitting what you want to underwrite and what you want to potentially build. Right, so here's your interest payments. I mean, when's the last time you had to pay 10 grand a month in interest, or 13? Right, these are bigger numbers, so a lot more risk if the market tanks and you're left paying 10 grand a month on something that no one wants to buy. You're fucked, right? So be aware of that. But your financing costs are 200 grand, right? So that's kind of the detail there. We looked at sale costs. This is what it looks like with a cash purchase. Now let's see what this site would look like, right? So we know this isn't a great deal for us, right? Maybe for a better developer who has better access to cheaper money, lower construction costs, better architect, less mistakes, etc. Maybe it's a better project for them. Maybe they're going to build apartments. I don't know. I'm not underwriting this for apartments, but it's not great for townhomes. But just to confirm, like, that 3 could fit here, let's look at a site plan, right? So you clear this. So I built this tool in Excel that draws out a site plan. So the dark blue is the actual lot, right? So, and the scale here is one Excel cell is 2.5 feet. Okay, does that make sense? So if you want to confirm that we have the right lot dimensions, go up here and you can see the sum is 92.5 and our depth is 93. Cool, close enough, right? So here, lot width 50, right? Okay, so these numbers are pulling in from the first tab and it draws this nice site plan for you. So if this was 120 feet deep, you put it in and it draws it out for you, right? Now, we know it's not, so let's bring it back to 93, Control Z. Now to clear this, click on any blue cell. You'll see the little blue square in the corner. Take that, wait till a plus comes over it, and then drag that across, drag that down. That'll reset the conditional formatting, so now you've got a nice clear lot. So let's make sure these 3 townhomes can fit on here. Let's go back to our development standards. Low rise 1. Okay, what is our building height? 30 feet. Cool. Our townhomes are going to be 3 stories tall. Building setbacks. Front 7 average, 5 minimum. Rear 7 average, 5 minimum. Side 5 is if building is 40 feet or less. Okay, it will be. So it's 7, 7, 5. And building width limit 60. So I think that's, oh, here's max facade length. 65% of lot depth for portions within 15 feet of a side lot line that is not a street or alley lot line. Okay, so we'll say that we want to do townhomes that look like, okay, so how big are our townhomes going to be? Let's say they're going to be about 1,700 square feet. Good. So down here, some common townhome footprints. This is not a definitive guide. These are just some. So we want to find a number at the bottom right that is close to 1,700. Let's say it's this one. Okay, so this one's 1,800. It's a little bigger, right? That's okay. Let's see if these 3 of these will fit. So you go hover over this, do Command C or Control C, copy it, right? And we know that and we're going to do these sideways. So how do you paste this shape the other way, right? How do I paste it so it's turned? Because I want it to be going up and down like this, right? So what I do, I know it has to be, here's the front, here's the street, right? Assume this is a street. I want to be 7 feet on a front setback. So we're going to go 7.5 feet back. So our front setback is here, right? Okay, so that's good to know. So there's our front setback. So let's say we want to paste it, and then we need a side setback of 5. So that's right here, right? So we're going to paste in this shape, 1, 2, 3 over, and 2 down, and then that's kind of where we can start building. So we're going to go 1 to the right and, south of that or down of that, and go paste special, paste transposed. Okay, there is our townhome. Now we can copy that again, Control C or Command C, depending on if you're Mac or Windows. And now we know that there needs to be 10 feet between principal structures. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can always double check by highlighting this top row or first column and looking down here for the sum. It's 10. All right, cool. So now I know I can build my next building right there. Control V, all right? Control C, and then another 10 feet. Okay, and then I want to build another one here. Cool. And then now we have, you know, this 5-foot side setback, and we have how many feet in the back? 12 and a half. You know what? You might even be able to get some parking in here. Certainly, at least you'll be able to get a spot to hide your garbage cans, right? Maybe you can squeeze in like 1 or 2 surface parking spots, or maybe you put a garage in this guy, right? Or maybe you configure these differently and you, you know, let's see, maybe do smaller townhomes and you know, add parking, right? So if you did them like maybe let's say 15 by 30, you could do like 3 of these guys, right? So we're gonna be back 1, 2, 3 cells, and then down 2, and then here's our first one. And maybe we do like 10 feet between these guys. Well, now unfortunately we're not meeting our side setback requirement. You know, if this site was a little bigger, maybe we could do, well actually no, hold on, this is 7 feet, right? So let's take this guy back out. Now he's got a side setback of, so we're gonna do Control C, side setback of 5, and then now it's not far enough from the front, right? So it needs to be 7 from the front, remember? Okay, so we're gonna go clear this guy. So highlight the blue cells, and now we need to be back 7. Whoops. Okay. Come on, you can do this, Jan. There it goes. And then we're gonna go 10 feet between these guys, right? And all right, now maybe let's say there's like a little road here. You might need more space, honestly. This is where like architects come into play, right? Or you reading development standards, right? So go to Seattle Municipal Code and go read that shit. It's important. And then let's say like, you know, your third one is gonna be back here, and it's gonna be a bigger one maybe, right? So let's say like this big dude, and he's gonna be enjoying all this space to himself. Paste transposed, and he's gonna be sideways. And now like maybe there's, you know what, maybe he's like further back here so that there can be parking for all these guys. Let's say he's here. All right, so maybe there's like a roadway here, right? And then you need like 25 feet to provide parking so that cars can turn around. So do we have that here? Yeah, we have 27, cool, like that's probably good. But again, I'm not an architect. I'm a developer. Get an architect to confirm or read the development code closely. I do so for any site that I have under contract, but I don't if I'm just quickly underwriting stuff. So let's say like, you know, now we got full parking or garages, and now we got 3 townhomes to fit. They meet all the setback standards, and it looks good. So that is how you guys analyze an infill site in King County, specifically in Seattle. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, don't ask me personally because I don't have time to answer everyone's questions personally. I wish I did, but I just don't. What you can do is post in Wari publicly and let multiple people help you. Or, you know, if you have a site under contract that you need significant help on, you know, and you think it's a deal or you're looking for a partner, feel free to reach out to a developer like myself or someone else in the group, and maybe we'll partner with you on it. Maybe we'll help you out with it. But ultimately, this is a great starting point. I wish you guys the best of luck, and happy investing.